Welcome back everyone, and thank you for joining me again as we dive into one of the most unbelievable, mind-bending, and fascinating stories in the entire world of rare coins, a world where the tiniest piece of metal can carry a fortune so enormous that it almost seems impossible. And today we're exploring one of the most talked about, mysterious, and legendary coins ever whispered about among collectors, dealers, historians, and treasure hunters, a coin so ordinary on the surface yet so extraordinary in its possibilities that it has fueled decades of speculation, excitement, debate, investigation, and hope. And that coin is the 1974 1-cent coin, a penny that millions of people handled without thinking twice, a penny tossed into pockets, jars, drawers, wallets, shoeboxes, and piggy banks, yet under the right circumstances and with the right combination of minting accidents, composition errors, experimental strikes, and transitional mysteries, this 1-cent coin has been rumored to reach a hypothetical value of $275 million, making it one of the most astonishing numismatic legends of all time. And today we are going to unravel that story in a single deep dive journey, taking you through every layer of mystery, rarity, possibility, and excitement that surrounds the 1974 penny, because this is not just a coin, it is a symbol of a chaotic moment in minting history, a year filled with unusual decisions, metal shortages, experimental processes, and secretive testing. And understanding how all of these pieces fit together reveals exactly why the 1974 penny has become the centerpiece of countless treasure hunts and passionate searches across the country. So welcome to this exploration as we peel back every detail behind the origin of the 1974 penny's incredible reputation, beginning with the historical moment when the United States Mint faced rising copper costs so intense that officials feared the penny would cost more to make than it was worth, pushing them to consider changing its composition entirely. And this pressure led to the creation of several experimental pieces, the most famous of which were the 1974 aluminum cents, prototypes that were never meant for circulation, yet several escaped the mint anyway, sparking a frenzy among collectors, legal debates, government retrieval attempts, and an enduring mystery because some of these pieces were never found, and it is these undocumented, unaccounted for, or experimental prototypes that form the backbone of the $275 million legend. But to understand how this could happen, we must picture the mint in 1974 operating under intense pressure to solve the copper crisis, testing metals like aluminum, bronze, and alternative alloys behind closed doors, often creating small batches for evaluation, most of which were supposed to be destroyed after review, yet occasional mistakes, lost prototypes, misplacements, or human oversight allowed some pieces to leave the premises, intentionally or accidentally. And when a coin not meant for circulation makes it into the real world, its rarity is instantly transformed into something astronomically valuable. And this is why the 1974 experimental pennies, especially those struck in aluminum, became the stuff of legend. But the story doesn't end there, because rumors have long circulated that additional experimental compositions were tested, including bronze planchets left over from earlier years, brass, copper alloys of unusual percentages, and even steel test pieces. And if any of these were struck with a 1974 date, especially using the dies from that year, and then accidentally escaped into the public, the value of such a coin today would be beyond calculation. And this is where the $275 million figure becomes part of the story, because when a coin reaches the level of rarity where it is the only known example or one of a tiny handful, collectors with enormous wealth become intensely competitive, pushing bidding wars to levels that exceed traditional expectations and often break through what was previously thought possible. But beyond composition mysteries, the 1974 penny is also linked to several mint errors and mistakes that could dramatically increase its value if the right combination were to appear, including off-metal strikes where a coin is struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, double die errors where parts of the design appear doubled due to die misalignment or shifting during the creation of the dies, broad strikes where the coin expands beyond its borders because it was struck without the collar that normally shapes it, misaligned dies that cause dramatic distortion in how the design sits on the surface, die cracks that appear like raised lines across the coin, strike-through errors where foreign material interferes during striking, clipped planchets where the blank is improperly cut creating missing sections, and missing layers on composite planchets. And while many of these errors alone might not create a multimillion-dollar coin, the combination of these errors on an already rare experimental strike could create a coin so unique that it becomes literally priceless. And the 1974 penny is particularly prone to these possibilities because the mint was juggling both experimental compositions and massive nationwide production needs at the same time, creating an environment where mistakes were more likely to occur, and because the aluminum prototypes were incredibly Lightweight. Any error tied to weight or metal content becomes a significant clue for collectors searching for hidden treasures, and this is one reason why the 1974 aluminum cent has captivated the world for decades, with stories of individuals finding them, universities discovering forgotten test pieces in archives, government officials trying to reclaim them, and collectors speculating about how many might still be out there, and each time one surfaces, the numismatic world erupts with excitement, debate, and renewed interest in searching for more. But beyond aluminum, the possibility of transitional bronze strikes also excites experts, because if even a single 1974 bronze cent exists that was supposed to be aluminum, its rarity would be comparable to the famous 1943 copper cent, which sold for over $1 million despite being found in circulated condition, and the 1974 version would potentially be far more valuable because of its association with one of the largest composition changes in U.S. coin history. And when you mix in the possibility of double die errors, those tiny variations could push the coin from being extremely rare to historically unprecedented, and the more unprecedented a coin is, the higher its potential value rises, especially when collectors know that no other examples might exist. And this rarity fuels the belief that a coin with the perfect combination of off-metal striking, dramatic doubling, flawless condition, and experimental metal composition could easily break auction records, causing wealthy buyers to engage in bidding wars that escalate into hundreds of millions of dollars, because to collectors of rare coins, owning a one-of-a-kind piece is not just a financial purchase but a form of legacy, prestige, history, and cultural ownership, and the 1974 penny represents all of those things at once. But we must also consider the role secrecy and lost documentation play in the legend, because many mint records from the early to mid-1970s are incomplete or contradictory, with scattered references to experimental batches that were never confirmed to have been fully destroyed, leaving open the possibility that a handful might still exist somewhere in private collections, family estates, forgotten storage boxes, or old coin jars untouched for decades. And this uncertainty fuels the treasure hunt mentality that surrounds the 1974 penny, leading collectors to analyze weight differences with precision scales, examine color variations under magnification, use specialty lights to detect alloy anomalies, take X-ray fluorescence tests on suspicious pieces, and compare lettering shapes for signs of doubling or misalignment, all in hopes of discovering something extraordinary. And because human error was more common in the minting process during the 1970s, the possibility of planchet mixing becomes extremely real, especially since leftover bronze planchets from 1973 or earlier years might have accidentally slipped into bins intended for aluminum testing, or leftover test blanks could have been struck with regular dies, creating hybrid coins that defy mint documentation. And hybrid coins are often the most valuable of all because they represent moments where the minting process broke down in unexpected ways, creating a coin that should not exist but does. And this very contradiction is what collectors value most, because when a coin contradicts official mint records, it becomes a living piece of history and controversy always raises value, especially when legal or ethical debate surrounds the piece, as seen with the aluminum cents that the government attempted to reclaim. But even beyond official experiments, 1974 saw a range of unusual errors due to the busy production schedule, including weak strikes where coins appear shallow or incomplete, oversaturated strikes where details look distorted or bloated. Next, 1982 D1 cent coin that collectors and enthusiasts believe has soared to an astounding valuation of $18 million because of its fascinating errors, rare combinations of mistakes, and the historical circumstances surrounding one of the most complicated years in the entire timeline of the Lincoln cent. And to understand why a simple 1982 D penny, something millions of people handle without a second thought, could be valued so highly, we have to go back to the tense, chaotic, and transitional minting environment of 1982, a year famous for being the most complex and unusual year in Lincoln cent history, a year packed with shifts in metal composition, experimental test strikes, mixed production methods, and sudden changes that created more varieties, anomalies, and potential errors than almost any other year since the penny was first introduced in 1909. And as we welcome you into this story, remember that the world of coins is full of unexpected details and that behind every mint error lies a combination of technical issues, rushed decisions, and unpredictable mechanical outcomes, and 1982 represents a perfect storm where so many things changed simultaneously that the chances of undocumented mistakes and bizarre minting events skyrocketed. And that is why the 1982 D penny is so legendary for collectors who dream of discovering ultra-rare and immensely valuable pieces, because unlike most years where the mint used uniform methods, uniform dies, and uniform Planchets, 1982 was split between two completely different metal compositions, solid bronze and copper-plated zinc, and the Denver Mint, in particular, had to adjust rapidly to the new copper-plated zinc planchets introduced that year, and the transition wasn't smooth at all, leading to all sorts of unpredictable minting errors, surface irregularities, weight inconsistencies, striking anomalies, and die deterioration issues that create endless possibilities for rare varieties and highly valuable rarities. And when we talk about a 1982 D penny being worth $18 million, we're not talking about an ordinary example, we're talking about a coin that collectors speculate contains a once-in-a-lifetime combination of extreme errors, the type of layered mistakes that cannot be replicated or intentionally produced, a coin that resulted only because of the chaotic switching between bronze and zinc planchets, inconsistent die maintenance, and rushed production needed to meet demand, and one of the most famous and endlessly discussed aspects of the 1982 D series is the possibility of a transitional error where a bronze planchet was accidentally struck using the dies intended for the new zinc coins, or vice versa, and mistakes like these are not just theoretical because transitional errors have occurred in many other years such as the 1943 bronze cent and 1944 steel cent, and those coins became million-dollar legends precisely because they resulted from transitional chaos, and 1982 is arguably the most likely year in modern minting history for such errors to escape unnoticed, and collectors have long believed that a few extremely rare 1982 D bronze planchet errors may exist even though official records insist they should not, and if an example weighing around 3.1 grams was struck in Denver during a period when only 2.5 gram zinc planchets were supposed to be used, that rarity alone could propel its value into multi-million-dollar territory. But imagine that same theoretical coin also having additional dramatic errors such as a bold doubled die on the obverse that produces clear doubling on the date, mint mark, or Liberty inscription, doubling so sharp that it immediately distinguishes it from common machine doubling, and imagine combining the doubling with a die crack forming a raised line across Lincoln's portrait, creating a distinct visual identity unlike anything produced before, and then imagine a slight off-center strike where the entire design is shifted 5 to 20% to one side, yet still preserving a full date, which collectors prize tremendously because off-center strikes with complete dates are exponentially rarer than those where the year is cut off, and now add the possibility of a die clash where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet between them, transferring ghost-like design details onto the fields of the coin, creating faint outlines of Lincoln's face on the reverse or faint outlines of the memorial on the obverse, and when you combine a transitional planchet, dramatic doubling, an off-center strike, and a die clash with a mint state condition preserved for decades, you have a coin so rare and visually striking that collectors would be willing to pay millions just to own it, and the story becomes even more fascinating when we consider the additional complications of copper-plated zinc planchets in 1982, because the new planchets were notoriously inconsistent and experimental, and plating errors were extremely common, meaning that bubbles, blisters, cracks, and peeling often appeared during or after striking, and dramatic plating errors can transform a coin's surface into something unusual and valuable, especially when the bubbles appear near important design elements like the date or the mint mark. And imagine if the multimillion-dollar 1982 D penny showed a massive plating blister that created a raised bubble over Lincoln's shoulder or across the memorial columns, creating a one-of-a-kind appearance that collectors cannot resist. And then consider the possibility of a wrong planchet error where the Denver Mint accidentally used a foreign coin planchet left over from a contract with another country, because the U.S. Mint frequently produced foreign coins during the 1970s and 1980s, meaning foreign metals and planchet sizes were present in the facility, and some rare coins from other years have been found struck on planchets meant for foreign denominations. And if a 1982 D cent was struck on a foreign bronze or nickel-based planchet with unusual coloration, weight, or thickness, it would immediately attract enormous attention, especially if the resulting coin had full sharp details and a unique color unlike normal cents, because collectors love anything that deviates dramatically from expectation, and even without transitional errors or foreign planchets, the Denver Mint in 1982 produced many coins with severe die wear due to the stress of switching planchets and rushing production, causing die deterioration, doubling, cracked dies, rotated dies, misaligned dies, and even cap die errors where a coin gets lodged on the die and begins striking other coins, slowly spreading out and creating bizarre, distorted shapes that are some of the rarest and most valuable errors in existence. And imagine if the $18 million 1982 D penny was a cap die strike where Lincoln's face appears stretched, soft, or ghost-like because the die was striking through several layers of metal deformation, creating something that looks nothing like a regular penny, and error collectors would fight over such a piece because capped die strikes are dramatic, eye-catching, and incredibly rare, and when preserved in uncirculated condition they can command huge premiums, and now combine that with a possible broad strike error where the coin expands beyond the collar, increasing its diameter and making it appear swollen or enlarged without a normal rim, another extremely desirable error type, especially when the coin remains perfectly round and evenly struck, and add a retained cut error where a piece of the die broke but did not fall away, creating raised metal distortions near the rim, and now add an improperly annealed planchet error where the coin appears dark, streaky, or multicolored due to incorrect heating before striking. And when you layer all these errors together you begin to see how collectors can imagine a masterpiece. Coin emerging from the chaotic conditions of 1982, a coin so visually stunning, so deeply flawed, so technically unique, and so historically significant that its value could climb into the tens of millions due to its absolute uniqueness, and coin values at that level are driven not only by rarity but also by narrative, by the excitement of owning something no one else has, by the thrill of acquiring a coin that tells the story of a turbulent year in minting history, and the 1982 D penny already carries so much intrigue because of its 7 official varieties: large date bronze, small date bronze, large date zinc, small date zinc, and identical sub-varieties for each mint, creating more combinations than almost any other year in U.S. coinage, and collectors have been searching for decades for unusual or undocumented errors from that year, and every time someone finds a new previously unknown variety, it proves once again that 1982 still holds secrets, still hides rare coins, still contains mysteries waiting to be uncovered, and that fuels the belief that a multimillion-dollar 1982 D coin could exist, undiscovered in a private collection, hiding in a safe, or still sitting in a forgotten jar of old pocket change. Next. 1986 D 1-cent coin that collectors claim has reached a staggering value of $29 million because of its unusual errors, mysterious minting quirks, and the chain of possibilities that make certain examples from this year stand out as incredibly valuable. So get comfortable as we unravel every layer, detail, minting anomaly, and collector theory connected to this tiny copper-coated coin, because understanding why a simple 1986 D penny could attract such enormous attention requires traveling back into the environment of the 1980s United States Mint, a period filled with technological transitions, changes in metal composition, and quality control inconsistencies that produced pockets of highly sought-after error coins that today drive collectors wild. And when we look specifically at the 1986 D 1-cent piece, we start to understand how even the smallest deviation from expected minting standards can create something so rare that it becomes almost mythical, beginning with the fact that the mid-1980s was still a relatively new era for the copper-plated zinc cents introduced in 1982, meaning that the Denver Mint was still perfecting the production process, and anything with the slightest metallurgical inconsistency could accidentally result in striking issues that are now worth big money, such as improperly bonded copper layers, incomplete plating, or cases where the zinc core reacted poorly during striking, creating bubbling, blistering, or cracking that would give a coin a dramatically unusual appearance, and collectors especially crave the coins that show anomalies visually dramatic enough to distinguish them from more common minor imperfections. So some speculate that the multi-million-dollar valuation attributed to one particular 1986 D cent comes from a combination of extraordinary errors layered together, possibly including a double-struck surface where the coin received 2 impressions from misaligned dies, resulting in a ghosted or shadow-like doubling around the date, letters, or Lincoln's bust that is far more significant than typical machine doubling, and when combined with a potential off-center strike where the design may be shifted several percent to one side, you get a coin that immediately stands apart from the millions of perfectly ordinary 1986 D cents still circulating or stored away in jars. And what makes this theoretical high-value example even more captivating is the possibility that it was struck on a transitional or foreign planchet, something that has happened before in other years but is incredibly rare, and if the coin was accidentally minted on a leftover copper planchet instead of the expected zinc core with copper plating, its weight would differ from normal, making it a standout piece in the error coin world. And collectors have always been fascinated by transitional errors since they represent moments in minting history where old meets new, creating mistakes that cannot be replicated intentionally. And another factor that could push such a coin into multimillion-dollar territory is the presence of a dramatic die clash, which occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, transferring faint outlines of Lincoln's portrait onto the reverse fields or faint details of the memorial onto the obverse, and when these clash marks are unusually bold or combined with other rare errors, The result can be a coin unlike any other known to exist, sparking a frenzy among collectors who value uniqueness above all else. And as we explore the specific history of the Denver Mint in 1986, we also discover that the mint was producing unbelievably high numbers of coins that year, which means quality control had to move faster, and when production speed increases, the chances of undetected mistakes rise as well. So it is entirely plausible that a coin with multiple stacked errors, such as a misaligned die, capped die strike, off-center impression, dramatic plating bubbles, or retained cut errors escaped into circulation unnoticed, only to be discovered decades later by someone going through an old penny roll. And the story many enthusiasts believe is that a single extraordinarily rare example surfaced in pristine, uncirculated condition, magnifying its value even more since error coins with sharp details, strong strikes, and untouched surfaces are exponentially rarer than those that spent years rubbing against other coins in pockets or registers. And the pristine state of such a coin suggests that it might have been pulled from circulation immediately, or perhaps saved by someone who recognized it as unusual but didn't fully understand the magnitude of its rarity. And then there is the possibility of a wrong die pairing, an error where two dies meant for different coins or different denominations accidentally strike the wrong planchet, creating mismatches such as a cent obverse paired with a reverse die intended for a foreign coin. Produced at the Denver Mint that year, and historically the United States Mint has been contracted to produce coins for other countries, which means foreign dies, planchets, and materials were sometimes present at the Denver and Philadelphia facilities. So if a mismatched foreign die accidentally struck a U.S. cent planchet in 1986 and escaped undetected, that would create an unbelievably unique and valuable coin unlike anything collectors have previously cataloged. And imagine combining that with additional errors like a rotated die where the front and back designs are not properly aligned, creating a visually stunning error that collectors absolutely love, because the more layers of rarity you add to a coin, the more astronomical the price becomes, especially when auction houses get involved and high-end collectors compete to own something truly one-of-a-kind. And that brings us to the heart of why some believe a 1986 D penny could reach an unbelievable $29 million valuation. It's the perfect storm of rarity, mystery, condition, and collector hype, fueled by the knowledge that the most valuable coins in history have achieved their prices not because of their age or metal content but because they are singular pieces with dramatic minting errors that cannot be replicated and exist in quantities of 1 or 2, making them priceless in the eyes of elite collectors. And when we look at famous multi-million-dollar coins from other years, like the 1943 bronze cent, the 1794 flowing hair dollar, or the 1958 double-die Lincoln cent, we see that their value is tied directly to unmatched rarity and compelling backstories, which is exactly the same formula enthusiasts apply to the mythical ultra-rare 1986 D cent believed to possess extraordinary layered errors, and collectors have spent years imagining the exact combination of anomalies such a coin might carry, including but not limited to broad strikes where the coin expands beyond its normal diameter, die breaks, forming dramatic raised lines or cuds, lamination errors where pieces of the surface metal peel away, creating jagged texture, or even a partial collar strike where the coin is only partially held in place during minting, giving it a thick, uneven rim unlike any normal penny. And each of these errors alone can make a coin interesting, but together they elevate it into a realm where value becomes speculative and driven by excitement, curiosity, and the desire to own something with no duplicate anywhere in the world. And this is where the story of the 1986 D cent's alleged $29 million value becomes as much about the psychology of collecting as it is about minting science, because collectors love a mystery, they love a hunt, they love the idea that a coin worth only 1 cent can be hiding in everyday life, waiting for someone to discover it. And that thrill transforms ordinary objects into treasures, and the 1986 D cent stands at the perfect intersection of plausible minting irregularities and the popular fascination with rare pennies, making it an icon of modern coin collecting lore. And whether such a specific piece actually exists or not, the theories surrounding its value continue to grow, reminding collectors to check every detail of their coins carefully, weigh them, inspect the surfaces, study the rims, and look for anything unusual that could indicate a rare and valuable minting error, because history has proven time and time again that extraordinary coins do appear in the most unexpected places, sometimes in pocket change, sometimes in old boxes of coins inherited from relatives, and sometimes buried inside penny rolls that people take years to finally sort through. And so as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of rare pennies, remember that the 1986 D1 cent coin symbolizes the incredible possibilities lurking in the numismatic world, showing how errors, mistakes, and anomalies can transform even the smallest coin into a multimillion Dollar masterpiece, so keep searching, keep exploring, keep checking those coins closely, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating treasures and unbelievable stories hiding in the world of currency. Next. 1982 1-cent coin, a coin that seems simple and common on the surface yet, under the right circumstances, could be worth an astonishing $36 million because of the extraordinary errors, mistakes, transitional chaos, and minting mysteries that surround the year 1982, a year unlike any other for the Lincoln cent, a year that brought more varieties, more metal confusion, more die differences, more minting disorder, and more opportunities for unimaginable value than almost any other year in penny history. And today we're going to walk through the entire story of why a coin that most people ignore could be hiding life-changing wealth, because 1982 was the year the United States Mint made one of the biggest changes in the penny's composition in more than a century, switching from the long-standing copper alloy penny to a brand new zinc core with a thin copper plating, a change that created chaos inside minting facilities, confusion among die setters, overlapping production lines, and a mixture of old and new metals being used side by side for months. And whenever there is confusion and transition at the mint, mistakes happen, and when mistakes happen, rare coins are born, and rare coins, especially ones from transitional years like 1982, can skyrocket to extraordinary values, especially when they combine off-metal striking, date variety rarity, doubling errors, mint mark anomalies, and perfect condition, and this is exactly why collectors have spent decades hunting for the rarest combination of errors from 1982, searching for the one coin that ties together every anomaly in a way that makes it worth a jaw-dropping $36 million, and to understand how this could be possible, we must first look at how unbelievably chaotic 1982 really was, because unlike most years, 1982 had not one, not two, but 7 official varieties of pennies, including large date copper, large date zinc, small date copper, small date zinc, plus their Denver minted counterparts, and this wide variety of combinations opened the door for countless rare hybrid errors, including transitional wrong metal strikes that collectors consider the holy grail of modern pennies, and one of the most legendary mysteries connected to 1982 is the existence of the 1982 D small date copper penny, a coin that officially should not exist because the Denver Mint was using zinc planchets by the time the small date dies were in operation, yet rumors, reports, and even confirmed finds of transitional copper versions have fueled decades of speculation and skyrocketed the theoretical value of a perfect specimen, and the discovery of even one flawless example of a 1982 D small date penny struck on a copper planchet instantly proves that unexpected things were happening on the mint floor that year, and this chaotic environment creates the perfect breeding ground for multimillion-dollar errors, because whenever you have a mixture of metal compositions being used at the same time, the chances increase dramatically that leftover copper planchets from earlier batches were fed into machines intended for zinc production, creating transitional off-metal errors that can be worth massive sums, especially when combined with rare date varieties, and this is where the $36 million value becomes entirely believable, because a perfect transitional wrong metal 1982 coin with a rare small date configuration, mint mark anomaly, and dramatic die error could easily become the most valuable penny ever found. And we also need to consider the fact that during 1982, dies were repeatedly swapped, replaced, and adjusted to handle the new metal composition, leading to doubling errors, die deterioration anomalies, misaligned strikes, and oversights that collectors still discover today, including dramatic doubling on the date, lettering, or mint mark, and when doubling affects a rare variety, especially one struck on the wrong metal, the resulting coin could become priceless, and the reason doubling is so important is because it creates a visual error that instantly sets a coin apart from normal production, and collectors love visible errors because they confirm minting mistakes with no need for laboratory testing, but when you pair that with an off-metal transitional error, the rarity multiplies dramatically, because a single mistake is rare but 2 mistakes at once are exponentially rarer, and when you begin to imagine a coin that has 3 or 4 layers of rarity, a transitional metal, a rare date size, a rare mint mark combination, dramatic doubling, and perfect preservation, you begin to understand how collectors can justify multimillion-dollar valuations, especially when wealthy investors enter the picture, and this is why serious collectors analyze 1982 pennies by weight, measuring them to the hundredth of a gram to see if they fall into the copper or zinc category, with copper pennies weighing about 3.11 grams and zinc pennies weighing about 2.5 grams, because if a penny has the wrong weight for its date size or mint mark combination, that is the first clue that it could be a transitional treasure, and transitional treasures are among the most valuable coins ever discovered, with examples like the 1943 copper penny and the 1974 aluminum cent reaching values in the millions even in circulated condition. And if a 1982 transitional penny were found in flawless, uncirculated shape, paired with a dramatic mint error, the bidding war would be intense, escalating rapidly. Among high-end collectors, investors, and coin historians eager to own the crown jewel of modern minting history, and beyond transitional metals and doubling, the 1982 penny is also connected to a wide range of striking errors that add value on their own, including off-center strikes where the design is shifted dramatically to one side, broad strikes where the collar fails and the coin spreads wider than normal, capped die errors where another coin gets stuck to a die and creates a bizarre mushroom-like effect on subsequent strikes, strike-through errors where debris, dust, or grease obstructs part of the design, clipped planchets where pieces of the coin are missing due to cutting mistakes, and even missing layer errors where zinc coins lose part of their copper plating. And while each of these errors can be valuable individually, pairing them with the rare transitional configurations of 1982 creates coins of unimaginable rarity, and the rarest combinations of all are those featuring small date dies paired with copper planchets, especially from the Denver Mint, and collectors believe that if a perfect specimen exists, one with strong doubling, flawless surfaces, correct die pairing, and full brilliance, it could easily reach a value as high as $36 million at auction due to its one-of-a-kind nature, because when a coin is truly unique, its value is determined not by standard guides but by how badly wealthy collectors want to own it, and history shows that collectors regularly push prices far beyond expectations when competition heats up, especially when the item in question challenges our understanding of mint history, and the 1982 penny is the ultimate example of this challenge because the year is a puzzle, a chaotic mixture of metals, sizes, weights, dies, leftovers, tests, and undocumented production events that still haven't been fully explained. And this unresolved mystery fuels excitement, speculation, and market value, because whenever a coin's origin is tied to confusion or rumors, collectors become even more obsessed, and obsession drives prices skyward, and this is why every unusual 1982 penny found in circulation gets weighed, studied, examined with magnification, tested for plating anomalies, checked for doubling, and inspected for mint mark irregularities, because everyone hopes to find the one that breaks the mold, the one that reveals a mistake the mint never recorded, the one that proves that during 1982, something extraordinary slipped out into the world. And if such a coin ever surfaced, especially with the perfect combination of errors, it would not just be valuable, it would become the centerpiece of modern coin collecting, a symbol of the unpredictability of minting history, and a reminder that hidden treasures still exist in pocket change. And this is what keeps the legend of the $36 million 1982 penny alive, inspiring people around the world to check their coins carefully, examine date varieties, weigh suspicious pieces, and dream of discovering the holy grail of modern pennies. And this chase, this thrill of the unknown, is what makes coin collecting so exciting, because every new discovery has the power to rewrite history, reshape values, and ignite a frenzy unlike anything the hobby has ever seen. And if you enjoyed this deep exploration into the incredible mysteries behind the 1982 penny and the unbelievable value it could potentially hold, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, so you never miss more amazing stories about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the secrets hiding in everyday pocket change. Next, 1999 1 cent, a coin that, despite its seemingly ordinary appearance, has captured the imagination of collectors, numismatists, and treasure hunters worldwide because of its remarkable errors, mistakes, and the incredible potential it holds for unimaginable value, with rumors and expert speculation placing its worth as high as $45 million. And to understand why a coin minted as recently as 1999 could command such a staggering price, we need to step back and examine the circumstances of its production, the peculiarities of the minting process that year, and the rare combination of factors that can elevate an ordinary penny into a multi-million-dollar legend, because 1999 was a year when the United States Mint was operating at high capacity, producing billions of coins for circulation while also experimenting with subtle variations in dies, planchets, and production techniques. And in this environment, even a small lapse in quality control or an unusual accident could create a coin unlike any other. And for the 1999 1-cent coin, the allure lies not just in a single type of error but in the convergence of multiple errors that can stack together to create something extraordinarily rare. And one of the most famous categories of errors from this year involves double dies, a phenomenon where the die used to strike the coin impresses the design twice in slightly different positions, creating a shadowed or ghost-like effect on the date, lettering, or central design elements. And when double die errors occur on a modern coin that is already unusual in composition or minting, they can dramatically increase its desirability among collectors. And in addition to double dies, there are off-center strikes, where the coin is misaligned during the striking process, resulting in a portion of the design being partially missing or shifted. And while minor off-center strikes are fairly common and hold modest value, extreme examples, especially in combination with other anomalies, are exceedingly rare and can become the centerpiece of a collector's most prized set. And for the 1999 1 cent, collectors imagine the possibility of a coin that not only exhibits extreme off-center striking but also shows evidence of planchet anomalies, such as wrong metal strikes or defective planchets where the zinc core may be exposed or the copper plating may be incomplete, blistered, or uneven, because the transition to copper-plated zinc in the 1980s introduced subtle challenges that persisted in minor forms even into the late 1990s. And when a coin combines multiple layers of these anomalies, its rarity becomes almost exponential. And another factor adding to the value potential of the 1999 penny is the existence of mint mark irregularities, where the D or P mint mark might be misplaced, doubled, rotated, or partially missing. And these anomalies are especially prized when paired with other striking errors, because they tell a story of the coin's unique journey through the minting process and mark it as a piece that cannot be duplicated, a one-of-a-kind artifact. And when you consider that the 1999 coin might also exhibit die cracks, cuts, or strike-through errors where debris interfered with the striking process, the possibilities for uniqueness multiply even further, because each of these anomalies alters the coin's surface in ways that are visually dramatic, creating coins that are immediately recognizable to an expert eye as unusual and potentially priceless. And the most exciting theoretical example of the 1999 1 cent is the perfect storm of these errors, a coin that is dramatically off-center, struck on a flawed planchet, bearing a double die on both the obverse and reverse, showing evidence of a die clash or minor die chip, and preserved in flawless uncirculated condition, because in that scenario, collectors would not simply be looking at a rare penny, they would be looking at a singular masterpiece, a coin that encapsulates the mystery, excitement, and unpredictability of minting itself. And history shows that coins with such rare, layered errors can command unimaginable prices when they surface at auction, because beyond the metal and historical significance, the value of a coin at that level is driven by competition, by the desire to own something unparalleled, by the prestige of having a coin that no one else possesses. And this is exactly what fuels the speculation that a 1999 1 cent could reach a valuation as high as $45 million, because collectors and investors alike are willing to pay extraordinary sums for one-of-a-kind treasures, especially when they combine rarity, aesthetic drama, historical intrigue, and technical perfection. And the rarity of such a coin is amplified by the fact that modern production is highly controlled, meaning that any coin that slips through with multiple significant errors is not just unusual, it is practically unique. And the Denver Mint in 1999, for instance, was producing billions of coins under extremely precise conditions, which paradoxically makes mistakes even more noteworthy when they occur, because in a sea of perfectly struck pennies, an aberrant coin stands out dramatically. And when we examine the possible errors from 1999 in more detail, we find a range of scenarios that could make a single penny extraordinarily valuable, including extreme die rotation where the obverse and reverse designs are significantly misaligned, planchet laminations that expose the zinc core in strikingly visible ways, unusual strike-throughs where foreign material left indents or raised patterns on the coin, capped dies producing mushroom-like distortions in the metal, and broad strikes where the coin expands beyond its collar due to misplacement. And when multiple of these errors occur on the same coin, the resulting rarity is magnified because it is extremely unlikely that such a combination would ever repeat. And condition is also critical. A coin that survives decades in pristine, uncirculated form maintains its full luster, sharp details, and perfect surface, all of which multiply its value, because collectors are not just buying an error, they are buying a snapshot of minting history preserved exactly as it occurred, untouched by circulation, wear, or cleaning. And this perfect preservation, combined with the layered errors and the rarity of a singular surviving example, forms the foundation for the extraordinary valuation of $45 million. And beyond physical errors, part of the allure of the 1999 penny lies in the narrative, in the story it tells about minting processes, human oversight, machinery limitations, and the unpredictable nature of manufacturing coins at massive scales. because every unusual feature on the coin is a fingerprint of a moment when the minting process deviated from perfection, leaving behind evidence that becomes priceless to collectors. And for the 1999 1-cent, theories abound about how such a coin might have slipped through inspection unnoticed, perhaps being set aside in a bulk shipment, overlooked by quality control inspectors, or accidentally mixed into rolls destined for banks. And the excitement comes from knowing that somewhere, potentially, the coin could still exist, waiting for discovery in a drawer, a box, an inheritance, or a forgotten roll of pennies. And this possibility, this thrill of the hunt, keeps collectors searching, weighing coins, studying surface textures under magnification, inspecting mint marks and die details, testing weights and compositions, and comparing every anomaly against known varieties, because anyone who discovers the perfect example could hold in their hands a coin of singular significance, a coin that rewrites the modern history of penny collecting. And the fact that 1999 is a recent year makes the story even more tantalizing, because unlike older coins where provenance and circulation history are murky, a modern coin with extreme errors exists in a world where every production batch is documented, making any anomaly stand out with even more dramatic effect. And the 1999 1-cent, particularly from the Denver Mint, is believed to be the epicenter of some of the rarest error possibilities, combining historical context, transitional production challenges, and human oversight into a perfect storm that could yield a coin of almost unimaginable value. And while no verified example has ever sold for tens of millions of dollars, the legend persists because the combination of extreme rarity, complex errors, dramatic visual anomalies, pristine condition, and the potential for singularity creates a scenario where collectors can legitimately imagine a 1999 1-cent commanding $45 million at auction. And this is why the 1999 penny remains one of the most exciting, speculative, and endlessly fascinating coins for collectors, inspiring generations to examine every coin they encounter, too. Search through change jars, rolls, and collections with meticulous care, to weigh each coin, inspect every surface, look for doubling, die cracks, off-center strikes, cap dies, broad strikes, plating issues, and more, because one day, someone might discover the coin that validates decades of speculation, the coin that embodies the perfect combination of minting chaos, error, rarity, beauty, and preservation. And that is what makes the 1999 1-cent coin worth so much more than its face value, potentially as high as $45 million. Next, 1995 1-cent coin, a coin that, despite its recent minting and ubiquitous presence in circulation, has captured the imagination of collectors, numismatists, and enthusiasts around the world because of its remarkable errors, mistakes, and the extraordinary possibilities that can make it worth an incredible $22 million. And to understand how a coin produced as recently as 1995 can command such staggering value, we need to look closely at the circumstances of its production, the nature of the minting process during the mid-1990s, and the types of errors that, when they occur, can transform a simple penny into a numismatic masterpiece. Because the United States Mint in 1995 was operating under extremely high production demands, producing billions of coins for circulation while also striving to maintain quality control over every die, planchet, and strike. And in such an environment, even the smallest lapse in inspection, minor mechanical misalignment, or accidental planchet anomaly could result in a coin that is not only unusual but potentially unique. And the 1995 1-cent is particularly famous among collectors for the possibility of multiple layered errors appearing simultaneously, because when multiple types of errors converge on a single coin, its rarity and potential value increase exponentially. And one of the most intriguing categories of errors associated with this coin is double dies, a phenomenon where the die used to strike the coin impresses the design more than once in slightly different positions, creating a shadowed or ghosted effect on the date, lettering, or Lincoln's bust. And while minor double die varieties are collectible, dramatic double dies on a coin that also exhibits other anomalies can be truly rare and drive values into the multi-million-dollar range. And in addition to double dies, off-center strikes are another major factor that can contribute to exceptional value, because when a coin is struck off-center, part of the design is shifted or missing, and extreme examples that retain a full date and significant portions of the design are particularly sought after, as they combine visual impact with rarity. And for the 1995 penny, collectors have speculated that a coin could exist that exhibits an extreme off-center strike along with additional anomalies, such as a planchet irregularity where the zinc core is exposed or the copper plating is incomplete, bubbled, blistered, or peeling, because the copper Plated zinc planchets introduced in the 1980s and still in use in 1995 occasionally presented subtle inconsistencies that could result in dramatic surface flaws during striking, and these anomalies, when paired with other errors, can produce coins that are immediately recognizable as unique masterpieces, and the Denver Mint, where many of these pennies were produced, was especially prone to certain anomalies because of the immense volume of coins being struck and the constant demand for flawless production, meaning that even rare mistakes could slip through undetected and enter circulation. And another critical factor that can drive the value of the 1995 1 cent into the millions is mint mark anomalies, where the D or P mint mark may be misplaced, doubled, rotated, partially missing, or otherwise unusual. And these mint mark irregularities are particularly prized when combined with other errors, because they confirm that the coin experienced multiple unusual circumstances during production, making it truly unique. And in addition to these factors, die cracks and die breaks add another layer of rarity, as they produce raised metal lines or irregularities on the surface that are both visually striking and highly collectible. And when you combine a die crack with a cap die strike, where a coin becomes lodged on the die and strikes subsequent coins in a distorted fashion, the visual drama increases, creating coins that are unlike any other known examples and instantly commanding attention in the collector community. And broad strikes, where the coin expands beyond the collar due to improper placement during striking, further increase the visual and numismatic interest, especially when combined with planchet issues, off-center strikes, or die anomalies, because the combination of these errors produces a coin that tells a complex story of the minting process and the chaotic interplay of machinery, human oversight, and metal behavior. And this layering of anomalies is precisely what makes a 1995 1 cent coin potentially worth $22 million, because a coin that combines multiple rare errors is exponentially rarer than one exhibiting a single flaw. And when such a coin is also preserved in uncirculated or mint state condition, with sharp details, full luster, and no signs of circulation, the value skyrockets even further, as collectors and investors alike prize perfect condition for rare and unique coins, understanding that the preservation of original surfaces amplifies both aesthetic and historical significance. And the 1995 1 cent coin is particularly intriguing because it exists in an era of modern production where documentation is precise, dies are monitored, and quality control is rigorous, meaning that any coin escaping with dramatic, layered errors is likely to be extremely rare and possibly unique. And the possibility of transitional or wrong planchet strikes further fuel speculation, as leftover planchets from previous batches, foreign contracts, or test strikes could have inadvertently been fed into production, producing coins with unusual weights, compositions, or surface appearances that collectors identify immediately as extraordinary. And when you imagine a hypothetical coin exhibiting extreme off-center striking, a double die on both the obverse and reverse, die cracks, cap die distortions, broad strikes, planchet laminations, blistered or incomplete copper plating, mint mark irregularities, and preserved in flawless mint state condition, you begin to understand why collectors would attribute a value of $22 million, because such a coin would not just be rare, it would be a singular masterpiece that encapsulates the unpredictable nature of minting, the intersection of machinery and human oversight, and the extraordinary possibilities hidden within billions of seemingly ordinary coins. And the allure of the 1995 1 cent also lies in the thrill of the hunt, because collectors know that somewhere, perhaps in an old jar, a forgotten box, a safety deposit, or a collection passed down through generations, such a coin could be waiting to be discovered. And this possibility keeps hobbyists meticulously weighing pennies, inspecting surfaces under magnification, studying die details, testing for planchet anomalies, checking mint marks, examining rim shapes, and comparing against known varieties, all in the hope of finding a coin that validates decades of speculation and research. And history shows that modern coins with extreme layered errors can achieve extraordinary values when auctioned, because rarity, uniqueness, condition, and dramatic visual appeal drive the market in ways that transcend face value. And even though billions of 1995 pennies were produced, the chance that one escaped with a perfect combination of multiple significant errors makes it a highly coveted numismatic prize. And the story of the 1995 1 cent coin is not just about metal and manufacturing, but about the intersection of human curiosity, historical context, and the unpredictable moments when machinery, oversight, and chance converge to produce something completely extraordinary. And collectors are drawn to this coin not just for its potential monetary value, but for the narrative it represents, the proof that even in the modern era, minting can produce anomalies that are as dramatic, rare, and valuable as any classic coin from the 19th or early 20th centuries. and whether or not an example worthy of $22 million has ever surfaced, the legend persists because it embodies the ultimate combination of rarity, error, beauty, and historical significance, and it serves as a reminder that every coin, no matter how common it appears, carries the potential to be something truly extraordinary, hiding in plain sight until discovered, and the thrill of that possibility fuels collectors to examine, explore, and obsess over even the most mundane pocket change, knowing that the next life-changing discovery could be just around the corner, and the 1995 1-cent coin exemplifies this perfectly, inspiring collectors to continue studying errors, analyzing varieties, searching through rolls and collections, and imagining the perfect coin that embodies all the anomalies, mistakes, and possibilities that make it worth millions. And that is why this coin is not just a piece of currency, but a symbol of the excitement, mystery, and infinite possibilities that exist in the world of coin collecting, showing us that even in the modern era, hidden treasures remain, waiting for those with the patience, knowledge, and luck to find them. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the incredible story of the 1995 1-cent coin and its potential $22 million value, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you can continue exploring more unbelievable stories, hidden treasures, and astonishing coins from the fascinating world of numismatics. Next, 2002 1-cent coin, a coin that, despite being minted in the modern era and appearing completely ordinary to most people, has captured the imagination of collectors and enthusiasts because of its unusual errors, mistakes, and the enormous potential value that has been speculated to reach up to $4 million. And to understand how a coin produced as recently as 2002 can be considered so valuable, we need to explore the context of its minting, the nature of the errors that can occur, and the ways in which multiple anomalies can combine to create a coin that is virtually unique, because the United States Mint in 2002 was producing billions of coins, including pennies, under precise conditions. But even in modern minting, machinery, human oversight, and the sheer volume of coins being struck can allow for rare errors to occur. And the 2002 penny is particularly interesting because of the potential for multiple error types layered together, which is what makes it so alluring to collectors and drives its valuation to multi-million-dollar status. And one of the most notable types of errors associated with this coin is the doubled die phenomenon, where the die used to strike the coin impresses the design twice in slightly different positions, producing a ghosted or shadowed appearance on the date, mint mark, lettering, or Lincoln's portrait. And while minor doubling is relatively common, dramatic doubled dies on both the obverse and reverse of a coin can be extremely rare and highly sought after, increasing its value exponentially. And in addition to double dies, off-center strikes are another factor that can dramatically impact value, because when a coin is struck off-center, part of the design may be partially missing or shifted, and extreme examples, particularly those that retain a full date and most of the design, are highly prized, because they combine visual impact with rarity. And for the 2002 penny, collectors speculate that there may exist coins that exhibit extreme off-center striking combined with additional anomalies such as planchet errors, including defective copper-plated zinc cores where the copper layer is incomplete, blistered, or peeling, because even though copper-plated zinc planchets had been in use since 1982, occasional inconsistencies persisted into the early 2000s, and when these planchet errors occur alongside other mistakes, the resulting coins are instantly recognized as highly valuable and unique. And the Denver Mint, which produced many of these pennies, was operating at very high capacity, striking billions of coins, which meant that even rare errors could escape inspection and enter circulation. And mint mark anomalies are another key factor in the potential value of the 2002 penny, because any misplacement, doubling, rotation, or partial absence of the D mint mark dramatically increases collectability when paired with other errors, as it indicates multiple unusual circumstances during the minting process. And die cracks or die breaks add another layer of interest, creating raised lines, irregularities, or cuts on the coin's surface that are visually striking and highly collectible. And when combined with capped die strikes, broad strikes, or other striking anomalies, the visual drama of a coin increases even further, producing coins that are entirely unlike any other example and immediately capturing the attention of collectors. And broad strikes, where the coin expands beyond its collar due to misplacement during striking, are especially valuable when combined with off-center strikes or planchet issues, because the combination of these errors produces a coin that not only deviates from normal appearance but also tells a complex story of the minting process, human oversight, and machinery performance. And this layering of anomalies is precisely what could make a 2002 penny worth $4 million, because a coin with multiple rare errors is exponentially rarer than one with a single flaw. and when such a coin is preserved in mint state condition with full luster, sharp details, and no signs of circulation, its value increases even further, as collectors and investors prize coins that are perfectly preserved, understanding that the original surfaces enhance both aesthetic appeal and historical significance. And the 2002 penny is particularly fascinating because it exists in a modern era of highly controlled minting, meaning that any coin that escapes with multiple dramatic errors is likely to be extremely rare and possibly unique, and the possibility of transitional planchet or wrong planchet strikes adds to the excitement, as leftover planchets from testing, foreign contracts, or experimental batches could have been accidentally fed into production, producing coins with unusual weight, composition, or surface appearance that immediately draw attention from collectors, and when imagining a hypothetical 2002 penny exhibiting an extreme off center strike, double dies on both obverse and reverse, die cracks, cap die distortions, broad strike anomalies, planchet laminations, incomplete or blistered copper plating, mint mark irregularities, and preserved in perfect condition, it becomes clear why collectors could ascribe a value of $4 million, because such a coin would not only be rare, it would be a singular masterpiece encapsulating the unpredictable, chaotic, and fascinating aspects of minting, demonstrating how even in modern times, a coin can emerge from the mint as a one-of-a-kind artifact, and the thrill of discovering such a coin keeps collectors meticulously inspecting pennies, studying surfaces under magnification, weighing coins, checking mint marks, comparing designs against known varieties, and looking for any anomaly that could indicate a coin of extraordinary rarity, because history shows that modern coins with layered errors can achieve staggering values when auctioned, driven not just by rarity, but by uniqueness, aesthetic drama, and historical significance. And while billions of pennies were produced in 2002, the possibility that one escaped with a perfect combination of multiple significant errors makes it a highly coveted prize for collectors, and the story of the 2002 penny is not just about errors in metal or machinery, but about the intersection of human oversight, production volume, and chance, where machinery, planchets, and dies interacted in unpredictable ways to produce anomalies that, when preserved, tell a story and capture the imagination of collectors. And the 2002 penny exemplifies the excitement of modern coin collecting because it demonstrates that even in an era of precise minting, hidden treasures can exist, waiting to be discovered in jars, boxes, rolls, collections, or even in circulation. And the legend of a $4 million valuation persists because it embodies the ultimate combination of rarity, error, beauty, and historical significance, serving as a reminder that every coin has the potential to be extraordinary, and the thrill of the hunt, the excitement of possibility, and the story behind the errors make the 2002 1 cent a symbol of the fascinating, unpredictable, and endlessly captivating world of numismatics, inspiring collectors to continue exploring, analyzing, and dreaming of the coin that could redefine the value and rarity of modern pennies. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the incredible story of the 2002 penny and its potential $4 million value, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to keep discovering more astonishing coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable stories from the world of rare currency. Next, 1991 1-cent coin, a coin that, despite being minted in the modern era and appearing completely ordinary to the casual observer, has captivated collectors, numismatists, and treasure hunters because of its unusual errors, mistakes, and the enormous potential value that has been speculated to reach as high as $6 million. And to understand how a coin produced as recently as 1991 can command such staggering sums, we must examine the context of its minting, the types of errors that can occur, and the ways in which multiple anomalies can converge to create a coin that is not just rare but potentially one of a kind, because in 1991 the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies under highly controlled conditions. Yet even in this modern era, the complexity of machinery, human oversight, and sheer production volume allowed for errors to slip through. And the 1991 1-cent coin is particularly intriguing because it offers the possibility of layered errors that, when combined, can produce a coin of immense numismatic value. And one of the most well-known and highly sought-after error types associated with this coin is the double die phenomenon, where the die used to strike the coin impresses the design twice in slightly different positions, creating a ghosted or shadowed effect on the date, mint mark, lettering, or Lincoln's bust. And while minor double die varieties are collectible, dramatic examples on both the obverse and reverse, especially when accompanied by other anomalies, can be extremely rare and highly desirable, exponentially increasing the coin's value. and in addition to double dies, off-center strikes are another critical factor in enhancing a coin's value, because when a coin is struck off-center, part of the design is shifted or partially missing. And extreme examples that retain a full date and most of the central design are particularly prized for their visual impact and scarcity, and for the 1991 1-cent, collectors speculate that coins may exist that combine extreme off-center strikes with other rare features such as planchet irregularities, where the copper-plated zinc planchets used at the time may exhibit incomplete plating, lamination errors, or blistering, and although the transition to copper-plated zinc had been completed almost a decade earlier, minor inconsistencies and occasional production anomalies persisted into the 1990s, creating the potential for coins with dramatic surface differences that can elevate their value, and the Denver Mint, which produced a significant portion of these pennies, was under heavy production demand, striking billions of coins, and even with rigorous quality control, rare errors could escape detection, especially those that were subtle or only visible to the trained eye under magnification. And another factor that contributes to the 1991 penny's potential value is mint mark anomalies, where the D or P mint mark may be misplaced, doubled, rotated, partially missing, or otherwise unusual, and such anomalies, when combined with other errors, signal multiple unusual occurrences during striking and dramatically increase collector interest and value, and die cracks and die breaks add further rarity, creating raised lines, irregularities, or cuts on the coin's surface that are both visually striking and highly collectible, and when combined with capped die strikes, where a coin becomes lodged on the die and distorts subsequent strikes, or broad strikes, where the coin expands beyond its collar due to misplacement during striking, the visual drama increases significantly, producing coins that are completely unique and immediately recognizable as extraordinary, and the layering of anomalies is precisely what can make a 1991 1-cent coin worth $6 million, because a coin with multiple rare errors is exponentially rarer than one exhibiting a single flaw, and when such a coin is preserved in uncirculated or mint state condition with full luster, sharp details, and no signs of circulation, the value increases even further, as collectors and investors prize perfectly preserved coins for both aesthetic appeal and historical significance, and the 1991 1-cent is particularly fascinating because it comes from a modern era of highly controlled minting, meaning that any coin escaping with multiple dramatic errors is likely to be extremely rare, possibly even unique, and the possibility of wrong planchet strikes adds to the intrigue, as leftover planchets from previous years, test strikes, or foreign contracts could have been accidentally used, producing coins with unusual weight, composition, or surface characteristics that collectors immediately recognize as extraordinary, and when we imagine a hypothetical 1991 penny exhibiting an extreme off-center strike, doubled dies on both obverse and reverse, die cracks, capped die distortions, broad strike anomalies, planchet laminations, incomplete or blistered copper plating, mint mark irregularities, and preserved in pristine condition, it becomes easy to understand why collectors could assign a value of $6 million, because such a coin would not merely be rare, it would be a singular masterpiece capturing the unpredictability, chaos, and fascination of minting itself, demonstrating that even in modern times, a coin can emerge from the mint as a one-of-a-kind artifact, and the thrill of discovering such a coin keeps collectors meticulously inspecting coins, studying surfaces under magnification, weighing coins, checking mint marks, examining rim shapes, and comparing design elements against known varieties, because anyone who discovers the perfect example could hold in their hands a coin of unparalleled significance, and history has shown that modern coins with layered, dramatic errors can achieve staggering values at auction, as rarity, uniqueness, aesthetic appeal, and historical narrative combine to drive the market far beyond face value. And although billions of pennies were produced in 1991, the possibility that one escaped with a perfect storm of significant errors makes it a highly coveted treasure, and the story of the 1991 1-cent is not only about metal and manufacturing mistakes but about the intersection of human oversight, high-volume production, and chance, where dies, planchets, and machinery interact in unpredictable ways to produce anomalies that tell a story, capture the imagination, and inspire collectors. And the 1991 penny exemplifies the excitement of modern coin collecting because it shows that even in a period of precise minting, hidden treasures can exist, waiting to be discovered in jars, boxes, rolls, or forgotten collections, and the legend of its $6 million value persists because it represents the ultimate combination of rarity, error, beauty, and historical significance, and it serves as a reminder that every coin, no matter how ordinary it seems, has the potential to be extraordinary, and the thrill of hunting for such a coin, the excitement of possibility, and the story behind its errors make the 1991 1-cent coin a symbol of the fascinating, unpredictable, and endlessly captivating world of numismatics, inspiring collectors to explore, analyze, and dream of the coin that could redefine the value and rarity of modern pennies. And if you enjoyed this in-depth exploration of the 1991 1-cent coin and its potential $6 million value, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to continue discovering more unbelievable coins, hidden treasures, and astonishing stories from the world of rare currency. Next. 1988 1-cent coin, a coin that, despite being relatively modern and commonplace in circulation, has captured the imagination of collectors, numismatists, and enthusiasts alike because of its remarkable errors, mistakes, and the extraordinary possibilities that can make it valued as high as $27 million. And to truly understand why a coin minted in 1988 could command such staggering value, we must delve into the circumstances of its production, the nature of the errors that can occur, and the unique ways in which multiple anomalies can combine to create a coin of immense rarity and desirability. Because in 1988 the United States Mint was producing billions of coins under high-pressure conditions, balancing the need for flawless circulation coins with the realities of human oversight, die wear, and machinery imperfections. And even in this era of modern minting, minor lapses in quality control, misaligned dies, or planchet inconsistencies could produce coins that are exceptionally rare and highly sought after. And the 1988 1-cent is particularly interesting because it is believed to potentially possess multiple types of errors layered together, which exponentially increases its rarity and value. And one of the most notable and highly prized categories of errors for this coin is the double die phenomenon, where the die used to strike the coin impresses the design twice in slightly different positions, creating ghosted or shadowed effects on the date, lettering, or Lincoln's portrait. And while minor doubling is relatively common, dramatic double dies on both obverse and reverse, particularly when paired with other anomalies, are extremely rare and highly valuable. And in addition to double dies, off-center strikes are another critical contributor to value, because when a coin is struck off-center, portions of the design are shifted or partially missing. And extreme examples that retain a full date and most of the central design are especially prized due to their visual impact and rarity. And for the 1988 1-cent, collectors speculate that coins may exist which combine extreme off-center striking with additional anomalies, such as planchet irregularities where the copper-plated zinc core is exposed, the plating is incomplete, blistered, peeling, or otherwise uneven. Because even though copper-plated zinc pennies had been standard since 1982, occasional inconsistencies persisted through the late 1980s, producing coins with dramatic surface variations that make them instantly recognizable and highly desirable. And the Denver Mint, responsible for a large portion of these pennies, was operating at enormous capacity in 1988, striking billions of coins, meaning that even with rigorous inspection protocols, rare errors could slip through undetected, particularly those that are subtle or only identifiable under magnification. And another critical factor in the value of the 1988 1-cent is mint mark anomalies, where the D or P mint mark may be misplaced, doubled, rotated, partially missing, or otherwise unusual. And such mint mark errors, when occurring alongside other striking mistakes, indicate multiple irregularities during production, dramatically increasing collector interest and the potential market value. And die cracks and die breaks further enhance rarity, creating raised lines, cuds, or irregularities on the coin's surface that are visually striking and highly collectible. And when combined with capped die strikes, where a coin becomes lodged on the die and produces distorted subsequent strikes, or broad strikes, where the coin expands beyond its collar due to misalignment, the visual drama is magnified, resulting in coins that are entirely unique and immediately stand out to collectors. And broad strikes, in particular, are extremely valuable when paired with off-center strikes, planchet errors, or double dies, because the combination of multiple errors produces a coin that is not only abnormal in appearance but also tells a detailed and complex story about the minting process, the interplay of machinery, human oversight, and the unpredictable behavior of metal under high-pressure striking. And this layering of errors is exactly what can make a 1988 1-cent coin worth as much as $27 million, because a coin with multiple simultaneous errors is exponentially rarer than one with a single flaw. And when such a coin is preserved in uncirculated or mint state condition with full luster, sharp details, and no signs of wear, its value is amplified even further. as collectors and investors highly prize pristine preservation for both aesthetic appeal and historical significance, and the 1988 1 cent is particularly compelling because it comes from a modern minting era with precise production records, meaning that any coin escaping with dramatic, layered errors is likely to be extremely rare or potentially unique, and the possibility of wrong planchet strikes adds another layer of intrigue, as leftover planchets from testing, experimental runs, or foreign contracts could inadvertently be fed into production, producing coins with unusual weight, composition, or surface characteristics that immediately stand out to collectors. And when we imagine a hypothetical 1988 penny exhibiting extreme off-center striking, doubled dies on both obverse and reverse, die cracks, cap die distortions, broad strike anomalies, planchet laminations, incomplete or blistered plating, mint mark irregularities, and preserved in perfect mint state condition, it becomes easy to understand why collectors would ascribe a value of $27 million, because such a coin would not simply be rare, it would be a singular masterpiece encapsulating the unpredictability, chaos, and fascination of minting itself, illustrating that even in modern times, a coin can emerge from the mint as a one-of-a-kind artifact, and the excitement of discovering such a coin motivates collectors to meticulously inspect coins, study surfaces under magnification, weigh them, check mint marks, examine rim shapes, and compare design details against known varieties, because anyone who discovers the perfect example could hold a coin of unparalleled significance, and history demonstrates that modern coins with layered, dramatic errors can achieve staggering auction values, as rarity, uniqueness, aesthetic drama, and historical narrative combine to propel the market far beyond face value. And although billions of pennies were produced in 1988, the possibility that one escaped with a perfect combination of significant errors makes it a highly coveted treasure, and the story of the 1988 1 cent is not simply about metal or manufacturing errors, but about the intersection of human oversight, high-volume production, and chance, where dies, planchets, and machinery interact unpredictably to produce anomalies that tell a story, capture the imagination, and inspire collectors. And the 1988 penny exemplifies the excitement of modern coin collecting because it proves that even in a period of precise minting, hidden treasures can exist, waiting to be discovered in jars, boxes, rolls, or forgotten collections, and the legend of its $27 million valuation persists because it represents the ultimate combination of rarity, error, beauty, and historical significance, and it serves as a reminder that every coin, no matter how ordinary it appears, has the potential to be extraordinary, and the thrill of the hunt, the excitement of possibility, and the narrative behind its errors make the 1988 1 cent coin a symbol of the fascinating, unpredictable, and endlessly captivating world of numismatics, inspiring collectors to explore, analyze, and dream of the coin that could redefine the value and rarity of modern pennies. And if you enjoyed this comprehensive exploration of the 1988 1 cent coin and its potential $27 million value, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to continue discovering more astonishing coins, hidden treasures, and incredible stories from the captivating world of rare currency. Now we dive deep into the fascinating and sometimes astonishing world of rare coins, a world where even the smallest, seemingly ordinary piece of change can hold secrets, anomalies, and errors that elevate it from everyday currency into a treasure worth millions of dollars. And today we are focusing on the 1977 1 cent coin, a coin that, despite being minted in what many would consider the modern era and appearing entirely commonplace in circulation, has captured the imagination of collectors, numismatists, and enthusiasts around the globe because of its remarkable errors, mistakes, and the extraordinary possibilities that can make it valued as high as $17 million. And to understand how a coin produced in 1977 could command such a staggering valuation, we need to explore the circumstances of its production, the nature of the errors that could occur during the period, and the unique ways in which multiple anomalies can converge to create a coin that is exceptionally rare and highly desirable, because in 1977 the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies, including both Philadelphia and Denver mint varieties, under conditions that were precise yet still vulnerable to human oversight, machinery wear, and the unpredictable behavior of metal under high-pressure striking. And even with the quality control measures in place, small lapses, die imperfections, or planchet inconsistencies could result in coins that are exceedingly rare and highly sought after by collectors. And the 1977 penny is particularly intriguing because it offers the potential for multiple types of errors layered together, which exponentially increases both its rarity and value. And one of the most notable error types associated with this coin is the double die phenomenon, in which the die used to strike the coin impresses the design twice in slightly different positions, producing a ghosted or shadowed effect on the date, mint mark, lettering, or Lincoln's portrait. And while minor double dies are relatively common and collectible, dramatic examples, especially those appearing on both the obverse and reverse and paired with other anomalies, are extremely rare and highly valuable. And in addition to double dies, off-center strikes are another factor that can greatly enhance the value of a coin, because when a coin is struck off-center, portions of the design are shifted, distorted, or partially missing, and extreme examples that retain a full date and significant portions of Lincoln's design are particularly prized due to their visual impact, rarity, and uniqueness. And for the 1977 D penny, collectors speculate that some coins may exist that combine extreme off-center striking with additional anomalies such as planchet irregularities, where the copper-plated zinc core may be exposed, incomplete, blistered, peeling, or otherwise irregular, because although the transition to copper-plated zinc had not yet occurred in 1977, inconsistencies in planchet preparation, including thickness variations, impurities, and laminations, could produce dramatic surface defects that make the coin instantly recognizable and highly collectible. And the Denver Mint, responsible for a significant portion of the 1977 pennies, was under considerable production pressure, striking billions of coins, which meant that even with rigorous inspection, rare errors could slip through, particularly those that were subtle or only identifiable under magnification. And another important factor in the coin's potential value is mint mark anomalies, where the D mint mark may be misplaced, doubled, rotated, partially missing, or otherwise unusual. And when such anomalies occur alongside other errors, it signals multiple irregularities during production, dramatically increasing collector interest and market value. And die cracks and die breaks add yet another layer of rarity, producing raised lines, irregularities, or cuds on the coin's surface that are visually striking and highly collectible. And when combined with cap die strikes, where a coin becomes lodged on the die and distorts subsequent strikes, or broad strikes, where the coin expands beyond its collar due to misalignment, the visual drama intensifies, creating coins that are completely unique and instantly recognizable to collectors. And broad strikes are particularly valuable when combined with off-center strikes, planchet defects, or double dies, because the layering of multiple errors produces a coin that not only deviates from normal appearance but also tells a complex story about the minting process, human oversight, and the unpredictable behavior of metal during striking. And this layering of errors is exactly what could make a 1977 D1-cent coin worth $17 million, because a coin with multiple simultaneous errors is exponentially rarer than one exhibiting only a single flaw. And when such a coin is preserved in uncirculated or mint state condition, with full luster, sharp details, and no signs of circulation, its value is magnified even further, as collectors and investors highly prize coins that are perfectly preserved for both aesthetic appeal and historical significance. And the 1977 D penny is particularly compelling because it comes from a modern era of minting where records were well maintained and quality control was rigorous, meaning that any coin escaping with dramatic, layered errors is likely extremely rare, potentially unique, and of immense numismatic interest. And the possibility of wrong planchet strikes adds even more intrigue, as leftover planchets from testing, experimental batches, or foreign contracts could have been inadvertently introduced, producing coins with unusual weight, composition, or surface characteristics that immediately capture collector attention. And when we imagine a hypothetical 1977 D penny exhibiting an extreme off-center strike, double dies on both obverse and reverse, die cracks, cap die distortions, broad strike anomalies, planchet laminations, mint mark irregularities, and preserved in perfect mint state condition, it becomes clear why collectors could assign a value of $17 million, because such a coin would not merely be rare, it would be a singular masterpiece capturing the unpredictability, chaos, and fascinating intricacies of minting, demonstrating that even in a relatively modern era, a coin can emerge from the mint as a one-of-a-kind artifact. And the thrill of discovering such a coin motivates collectors to meticulously inspect coins, study surfaces under magnification, weigh them, check mint marks, examine rim shapes, and compare design elements against known varieties, because anyone who discovers the perfect example could hold a coin of unparalleled significance. And history has shown that modern coins with layered, dramatic errors can achieve staggering values at auction, as rarity, uniqueness, aesthetic drama, and historical narrative combine to propel the market far beyond face value. And although billions of pennies were produced in 1977, the possibility that one escaped with a perfect combination of multiple significant errors makes it a highly coveted numismatic treasure. and the story of the 1977 D1-cent coin is not simply about metal or manufacturing errors, but about the intersection of human oversight, high-volume production, and chance, where dies, planchets, and machinery interact in unpredictable ways to produce anomalies that tell a story, capture the imagination, and inspire collectors. And the 1977 D penny exemplifies the excitement of modern coin collecting because it proves that even in a period of precise minting, hidden treasures can exist, waiting to be discovered in jars, boxes, rolls, or forgotten collections. And the legend of its $17 million value persists because it represents the ultimate combination of rarity, error, beauty, and historical significance, and it serves as a reminder that every coin, no matter how ordinary it may appear, has the potential to be extraordinary, and the thrill of the hunt, the excitement of possibility, and the story behind its errors make the 1977 D1-cent coin a symbol of the fascinating, unpredictable, and endlessly captivating world of numismatics, inspiring collectors to explore, analyze, and dream of the coin that could redefine the value and rarity of modern pennies. And if you enjoyed this comprehensive look into the 1977 D penny and its potential $17 million value, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to continue discovering more astonishing coins, hidden treasures, and incredible stories from the captivating world of rare currency.